Hey, what's up? So, just wanted to share this little video about the ego because the ego is a tricky thing for a lot of people. It's can be a bit of a mystery, and so it helps to, I guess, hear things that can help you kind of wrap your mind around it. And there was a scenario that unfolded over the course of the last few weeks that I was very barely involved in, but I was there, and it's a beautiful example of the ego at work, from coming from a variety of levels. And so I thought, I got this going around in my head, and I find it fascinating, kind of hilarious and interesting just to see, because I really enjoy psychology and kind of dissecting and understanding this ego and seeing it in its operation and its full kind of glamour and whatnot. And so, and what better way to learn than from firsthand personal experiences and from like real life things that happened, and it's very recent. This is still in the process of an unfoldment. And so it's kind of like this. There was like, I'm at this place, and there's like all this stuff that I had to deal with. And so it was like a trailer where I keep my stuff is the story, and then but half the stuff was somebody else's, and the guy, he didn't want that stuff anymore. But then he is a potter. He moved far away, and he didn't want any of the things anymore, and he taught pottery. And then there's this little girl, my buddy's daughter, and she's getting into pottery. And so I was like, okay, like I knew that this was the moment I put my stuff in there, I'm responsible for something. I am living by the grace of the people who, like, in a sense, like I am allowed to operate out of this yard and have a space where, yeah, I live in my vehicles, but like I live by the grace of the family that lives here. And so whenever I have an opportunity to be of service, specifically to do with anything with them, I do it. If I can help make a difference, help out around and whatnot, I really make an effort to jump on that kind of stuff. So out of appreciation, because appreciation is a action word. You got to show it, not just, oh yeah, gratitude. It's something that you show, not something that you just say. And so this whole thing came up, and it was really neat, because it's like, it takes my life, like as like a traveler and person whose cookie crumbles sometimes and finds himself needing to have storage, and then it takes the people living here to have this space for this trailer, and then to let me keep my stuff there. It took the potter guy to have the trailer, and then to leave all the stuff. So his life, my life, and then like these people's life, and then the life of this girl who is becoming a potter and stuff like that. All these lives kind of like commingling, and then it takes me as well, somebody who has I'm good at taking a big mess and sorting it out. I've done it for a lot of jobs and stuff like that, and so I don't get overwhelmed by something that is like, it looks like a daunting task, because I just have certain ways that I get through it. There's little things that I say to myself, and I have, and so I don't find it difficult at all. Before you know it, it's done, and I've done this many times, so it's just old news. And so it did this, and then like we're gonna I was dealing with this stuff, and these people were here to get this stuff. We're hanging out in the shop, and then this one day, it was pouring rain. It poured rain. The last time it poured rain here, it was a while ago, about 3 weeks ago, and there was like, and then the guys like who live here, his partner comes in, and we're standing there talking, having a good time, smiling like people do. And we're just like having a good time. And then she yells something at him, and we're all standing there and like with these looks on our faces, and I don't know what he said, and then she thought that we were laughing at her. And then she got angry and she said words, and then peeled off and took off. And the next day I was like, I asked my homie, I was like, is everything okay? He's like, yeah, it blew over like nothing. But the thing is that the other people that were there, one of the people made a huge deal about it. So I'm talking with him the other day, and he's just like, oh yeah, I'm mad at that person, this person, da 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 da. How dare you yell at me? And I was like, dude, he wasn't even talking to you. It wasn't about you. He's like, oh, she stared into my eyes, into my soul, and she said those words. I was like, no, dude. She's like, you're like 40 feet away. I mean, it had nothing to do with you, but you're certainly making it about yourself. You're certainly taking it personally. And it's just like, oh, well, because his daughter was there. And it's like, oh, well, like if it's me, it's fine. But because it's in front of my daughter, saying stuff like that, I was like, yeah, but isn't this a good time to show compassion, to be understanding? Maybe she had a bad day. Maybe a ton of things. You don't know what was going on and how she's reflected on that kind of stuff. It's just like, oh no, this person owes me an apology, this and that. I was like, I totally understand that. There's a time and a place where I suppose it might be important to a person to be like, no, this what happened is needs to be addressed and whatnot. And that's one thing. But for me, it's just like what I said. I was like, it's just as easy to just let go of the whole situation. Just forget about it. It happened. It was not a big deal. And it's like you're making a mountain out of a molehill. It's like, you're hurt. And he's like, oh, I'm not hurt. I was like, well, you're acting like your butt hurt. I mean, like you're all upset about this kind of stuff. And it's like, you're not going to teach this person a lesson by this. I mean, it's not really your place. Like if you were going to do something about it, do it right away in the moment. Don't wait till like weeks later and then bring up the past. It's not the way, because then you're just like digging up old stuff and you're not letting bygones be bygones. You're certainly not being compassionate. And then it's just like a big ego flex. And that's the thing, because it's like, oh, well, yeah, she, what was it? Yeah, it's like you need this this validation that you're right and then she's wrong. And then it's just like, when I was saying all this stuff, the first thing that came to my mind, I looked at the ground and I was just like, I was down at the river and there's all these rocks there, and it's just like all the rocks, and the first thing, it was like, he without sin cast the first stone, like Jesus words. It's like, are you kidding me? I mean, let it go. I mean, I get it that your ego is hurt. That is the only part. But it's like, get out of your head and get into your heart and just like show a little bit of compassion, love, maybe some understanding. I mean, if you know anything about this person and what they went through growing up and that kind of stuff, it's like, we are the product of our environments, a spirit incarnate, but also we end up in like a family and we have certain experiences, and it's not always the easiest to figure out. So, having compassion and understanding towards others, as especially when somebody is clearly showing signs of struggling, because when you freak out on somebody, when you behave poorly in a situation, that's not a sign that you're doing well, that you're calm and relaxed, that your nervous system is at rest. You're overloaded and you're just handling things to the best of your ability. So it's like, and it was the other thing too, is it's like, okay, well, it's all about the little girl. It's like, man, don't use your daughter as an excuse to be in your ego and not be in your heart. And the other part of it too was just like, when she came in, she thought something was about her, which it was not. And she blew it out of proportion. And then that's what he's hurt about. And then he's doing the exact same thing. He's making it all about himself when it is clearly nothing to do with him. and taking it personal and then blowing it out of proportion. And it's like, each to their own. I mean, you can't tell another person how to respond and react to these situations. I eventually just let it go, because it's the thing with the ego. It's like, you never appeal to somebody's sense of like pity or whatever. It's always about self-interest, because that's the ego is all about, like, egocentric, self-centered. It's all about itself and its own image and how it feels, because it's to do with beliefs and the feelings that are generated from that kind of stuff in relating to, I don't know, situations and people and life and whatnot. So, and the best for me, it's like, you want to be a good teacher here. So here's your opportunity to show a young person who is there and say, look, you know what, this happened, but I'm going to practice being understanding and not taking it personally. And showing heart, be like, because you really don't know what was going on. So to be an example of maturity, and to just to let it go. I mean, and it's I think that the main thing is that it's like, if you have a problem with something that's going on, address it immediately, or hold your peace. Just let it go, because otherwise it's old news, and then you're digging up the past. So yeah, it's a choice. And it's a funny thing how the ego works, how it like twists and contorts things to its own liking, so that it kind of suits its own needs. But it's like, at the same time, it doesn't need to be like that. You can just let stuff go. You can practice forgiveness. You can practice kindness. You can practice maturity. You can practice understanding. Yeah. So, and I for myself, you can practice peace, because like I tell you, not making a huge deal out of something like that is way more peaceful. Like, there is a saying that I love. It is in lak'esh alakin, and it is a Mayan phrase, and it means you are another me. As I do unto you, I do unto myself. Because they understood the nature of reality, and that this is like a dream and it's like a mirror. So the idea is not to be judgmental and condescending and hypocritical against towards the other aspects of that dream, which fundamentally are you. An aspect of you, or an aspect of all that is an aspect of God, however you want to frame it, or language that you feel is appropriate. But it's like, there's another thing I remember my uncle used to say that stuck with me back in the day was, when you try to poison someone else's world, you end up poisoning your own. And it's along the same lines. And I'm not saying this person's trying to poison that person, but it's like, when you're all upset about it, like, the person, the woman, she let it go a long time ago, because it's like, some people get used to behaving that way, and it kind of can become normalized, and so it's under the radar. It doesn't get seen. It just blows over very quickly, and so. And, so they let it go like it didn't even happen. So it's like, the only person who is suffering as a result of this is you. It's like, dude, let it go. But that's the thing with the ego, is it just wants to be like, no, it has this like self-righteous, it's like, no, and it's like, all right, without myself getting into my own ego and needing to help this person, or try to fix things, trying to change their mind or something like that, because he has all the right to feel the way that he does, and that's cool. I've certainly been there. As an intellectual, it's been an issue, and this person as well has an intellectual side, and yeah, it's one of these things about getting over the ego. And yeah, so I really wanted to share that because these things come up, and it, like, that's as real as it gets. A scenario that you can really relate to and stuff like that. So hope it helps. Anyways, peace out. Heart based.